Yeah, Deepa.
Hey, if this share the also the one link.
Okay.
Okay, I don't know. I'm not going to find it in my mailbox. So many unread emails.
You're not having it in the calendar also.
Second, calendar is a good idea.
I'll forward this to you.
No, no, not in the calendar.
Okay, let me just send that to you.
Thanks.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We're just going to give a few minutes for more attendees to join, and then we'll get started in a few minutes. Thank you for your patience while you're waiting for others to join.
Hey, Vinay.
Hello, Deepa. Thanks for
Hi,
joining.
Sean. Thank you. All the very best. Let's hope we get a good turnout. I see one person already.
Yep. I'm just going to give a few more minutes. Hey, Sean, thanks for joining. I'm just going to give a few more minutes for some more attendees to join, and then we can get started.
Yeah. Hi, Sean.
Hey, Deepa.
Hey, Sean.
Guys, never mind. Something's
Just give a few more minutes, then we can get started. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We're just giving a few more minutes for more attendees to join, and then we'll get started. Thanks for your patience. All right, I think we'll give it a go. It's 4 minutes past 7. Just want to make sure that we can cover all the agenda items. So let me just share my screen and then let's get started. And thank you all for joining.
Vinay, before we go ahead, as we discussed, I have created a poll wherein people can go ahead and, they can update what time they would like to have their next session. So, guys, you will be seeing this poll in your window. To let us know in the comment section in case you're not able to view it. During the session, please feel free to select a time which works for you. It will help us better to go ahead and schedule the next session at your convenience so that it's easier for all of us to attend it. Okay.
Great.
All right. Over to you, Vinay.
Thank you for that, Deepa. All right, I'm sharing my screen. Let me know if you're able to see it, or just give me a thumbs up. And let us know if you're facing any issues with viewing the screen otherwise. Deepa and Sean, are you able to see the screen now?
Yeah, we can see it. Yes, we can. Yep, go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone. Thank you all for joining the webinar today. So as you might be aware, this is a series of Virtuoso 101 webinars that we're running for our Global Alliances community. Today's topic that we have selected is enhancing time to market with AI, and how the GSIs and the customers can gain a competitive advantage with AI in reducing the time to market and leveraging all the AI solutions. Specifically, we're going to talk about Virtuoso and how it uses AI to reduce the time to market for our customers, and what all we are seeing and learning from our customers as well is the different ways we are able to enable that with Virtuoso. To begin with, let me just get started with the agenda that we're going to cover off today. We're going to do the panel introduction. We're going to cover off the enhancing time to market with AI. We're going to talk about what are the major problems that we see from a software engineering and the software development lifecycle. What are the areas where we are seeing AI getting into action and reducing and improving the time to market? And what we are delivering with some of our customers as well is something that we'll cover as part of the Virtuoso overview. We'll talk about a quick overview about the company itself, the customers that we and the partners that we work with, and how we are delivering this value to the end customers. And then we'll do a quick demo just to bring this to life. It's okay just to talk about on the slide pack, but I want to make sure that you guys can also take away what are the different ways where we are able to enable that in a live demo that would just bring the whole topic and make it more interesting for everyone to understand how this is being affected currently with Virtuoso on some of our customers. After the demo, we'll keep a quick Q&A and end with call to action. So that's the agenda that I want to cover. Let's just start with the panel introductions. So Sean, why don't you go ahead and give a quick introduction, and then we'll
Yeah.
get
Yeah, good afternoon and morning, and thanks for everyone for joining. Sean Thompson, Senior Vice President of Global Alliances. This is a great opportunity for us. As we mentioned during last month's session, we had a great turnout. And this is meant Virtuoso 101 to help you build upon your understanding and skill set as it relates to Virtuoso. So we appreciate your time. We look forward to your feedback. As Deepa mentioned, these sessions are for you, and our group continues to grow as we continue to add more partners to the ecosystem. So there's two things we're going to ask for. One is best time for you and your peers to join. And number two is topics or categories that you would like us to address in future sessions. The premise of Virtuoso 101 is really, as the analogy goes, of building a building, where we started last month in talking about the who, what, why, and how. And the how is how we leverage and work with partners, and how partners can take advantage of Virtuoso to drive, again, the incremental revenue, services, dollars, by helping deliver quality at scale to their consumers. And then this month, we're going to continue to build upon that. And going forward, we'll continue to add more content as well. So again, thanks for your time. Thanks for your preparation, Vinay, and look forward to a good session.
you, Sean. And a quick introduction about myself, Vinay Joseph. I'm the sales director at Virtuoso for the Global Alliances team. Been in this software engineering QA and sales space for over 20 years now. I'm really looking forward to the series of sessions. We had something really interesting last month, where we were talking about the introduction to Virtuoso and how how do we affect the change in the quality assurance. We feel that we are building a really good platform, which is starting to gain a lot of acceleration. And we want to make sure that all of that, we keep building on this and cover off all the topics, and specifically the one that is of a lot of interest to a lot of partners that we've been meeting in the past few weeks, is time to market. That's on top of everybody's agenda. So let's just get started and talk about how we can enhance time to market with AI, and specifically how do we affect that in Virtuoso, right? Now, let me just talk about why we picked up this topic. And when we talk to a lot of our customers, and I'm just going and meeting a lot of our partners and end customers as well. And the core objectives that they see for quality engineering is definitely customer experience. They want to make sure that customers get the best experience out of all the engineering activities that they are delivering. That's geared towards customer experience. But second most important thing is the time to market. And that is increasingly becoming relevant for customers in all industries, whether it's financial services, which is very competitive. You've got healthcare. You've got a lot of other aspects as well, where time to market is becoming more and more relevant in terms of how the software engineering teams and quality engineering specifically can deliver that and help with that. Is there a way that I can disable that? But okay, that's okay. So apart from security and cost, we wanted to focus on time to market, just so that we can explain how Virtuoso was able to deliver that. We'll be taking up more topics going forward. But on the left-hand side, you can actually see one of the outcomes of a survey that was done very recently in 2024 by GitLab. And they were asking developers, hey, what do you spend most time on a daily basis? And what they came out with is, number one answer for majority of the developers was waiting for the build and the tests from other teams to get completed. Similarly, writing the test itself. There are a lot of customers where we are working with, where we're talking about full stack engineers, and they also do, apart from writing the code, they're also writing the tests. And those are the top three reasons why where they feel that they're spending most time on a daily basis, which essentially leads to the fact that, hey, this is time-consuming task. And in spite of a lot of industry investments in DevOps and test automation, they continue to report that um, apart from writing code, waiting for the builds and tests to complete is the most time-consuming task. So if we are to solve the time to market problem, we need to understand how we can fix that, how we can make improvements where they can, the test engineers and the quality engineering teams can write code for testing or test automation much faster. You can complete test automation activities within the sprint or as earlier as possible within the project life cycle, and how they can reduce the whole cycle time where they're not becoming a bottleneck in the overall software engineering and development life cycle. Now, just to bring it to life, there's another survey which was done, and this is also pretty recent, where a lot of software engineering teams from all roles, whether it's development, DevOps, quality engineering, um, business analysts, they were all asked, where in the development process do you encounter the most delays? And 52% you can see have responded and said testing is where they encounter the most delays, which essentially means that if we need to fix the time to market problem, we need to address testing and how we can leverage AI to solve those problems within testing and specifically test automation. We've got other problems that we will also cover, like test data management, and we've got some solutions where and the customers are leveraging that on a daily basis now to make sure that the test data is all ready before they test, and that's also something that I would be covering during the demo. Now, how does AI help in that? So if you look at the complete end-to-end life cycle from a software engineering perspective, as well as on a quality engineering perspective, there's the whole requirement analysis and planning. You've got the whole test automation build activities. In some cases, it's manual currently. We all know that. Even now, there's close to 80% of the testing activity that happens is not automated, which essentially means within the sprint itself, most of the first set of features which are deployed, they are tested manually, and they continue to be tested manually at least for the first 3 or 4 sprints until the test automation backlog is completed. Then the whole test execution aspect, making sure that all the test execution is completed, the release, and then continuing to monitor the release, and the whole cycle is repeated for all the sprints going forward. Now, how AI can help is, number one, is used to reduce the time it takes for you to build the tests from requirements and design stages itself, and even from wireframes. And we'll talk about how Virtuoso does that, but primarily a lot of concepts within the industry where it would reduce the time taken to write the test is AI augmented object identification, which essentially means that AI is used and machine learning is used to identify the objects with the least amount of time. Because if you look at the overall test life cycle, identifying the right objects and putting the right selectors, it's one of the most challenging tasks when automation is completed. And that just amplifies itself when we get into the maintenance phase as well. The second part is AI authoring itself. So, hey, you are going to use AI augmented object identification, but why not use AI to author the test cases itself? And we'll demonstrate that shortly as well. There are other aspects as well, including using GenAI assistants to write pieces of code for custom extensions that you need to create, or even use AI guide, that is, use the power of AI to guide the testers in using the tool better as well, so that if they're running into issues, AI can help them in how they can fix the problems rather than they waiting to get those resolved from support agents. Similarly, when it comes to the actual build of the tests, from a maintenance perspective as well, there has to be machine learning to self-heal the tests. And that is very, very important when it comes to regression packs, because every time there's a new release, 80% of the time that most of the legacy and coded frameworks, the test automation leads or test automation engineers, they are spending in maintaining the regression test pack. And that essentially is time away from building new test cases. And that is where the backlog keeps building up, so that your features that you're developing within the sprint, it's not getting automated until the next few sprints. And that is where the time to market aspect takes a backseat, while the teams continue to work on creating and maintaining the test cases which have already been built. And that is super important. And there is definitely a shift in the market in terms of how self-healing is used. We are pioneering that, we feel, and our customers are saying that it helps them a lot in terms of how their teams can continue to focus on building new coverage, or improving the coverage of your regression packs rather than just maintaining the existing regression pack. And that also makes a huge impact in terms of test data management, right? Because we saw it in the previous slide where the major bottlenecks in making sure that the delays can be cut out in the software engineering lifecycle, test data management was another major topic there. And that's again using AI assistant to create test data generation scripts. And that takes quite a lot of time, especially when you're talking about regression packs and depending on the nature of the application where you may need dynamic data. This is really important. But we need to start shifting our focus, not just on the shift left part of it, but starting to help the developers in identifying why the defect is happening and how they can fix the defects as well. And that's where AI-driven root cause analysis comes into picture, where the logs that are being collected, whether it's network logs, console logs, the DOM structure itself for web applications, how it can all be analyzed using AI to give a summary to your testers as well as developers on how this defect can be fixed, and which would reduce the cycle time in releasing the tests and the fixes much faster, and making sure that your time to market can significantly reduce. And this also means, from a maintenance perspective, this is one of the biggest problems. If you're writing so much code and lengthy journeys, you would need AI to help and give you a summary of what that journey does, so that teams keep changing and new people who come in, they got a ready assistant from AI, which would help them summarize what the journey does and how they could just maintain it if required, to make sure that the changes that are going in from the releases can be tested effectively. So this is how AI is being leveraged by Virtuoso, and and that is helping the customers, number one, to reduce the cycle time in creating tests, maintaining tests, also reducing the time it takes for them to execute those tests, because hey, with the self-healing, there's much more focus towards creating tests, and the amount of time it takes to execute the complete regression pack significantly reduces. And then there's also the whole root cause analysis, where it would a reduced amount of time it takes for the developers to understand what the issue is and how they can fix those defects. Moving on, let me just give a quick overview for those who are new to understand what Virtuoso does, what are we as a company, and why do we exist. Just to answer the question of why do we exist, we saw a big space, a white space in the market, where even now 80% of the software is predominantly tested manually. And of the test automation that happens, 62% of the automation is using open source solutions like Selenium. But I mean, if you add all the Selenium-based frameworks and other open source solutions as well, like Playwright and others, it would be close to 70 to 80%. And what that essentially means that there's only about 50% of the tests that they are automating, even if they are automating. And the reason why that is a lower coverage which exists in the market is primarily the whole capex that spend that they need to cover off to make sure that they can create those tests and then effectively maintain those tests going forward as well. And that whole creation and maintenance is more expensive because, hey, you need estate which are as good as the developers. They cost as much as developers do. And that is on top of your manual testers because, hey, you would still need people who understand the business functionality better. And then you would need the people who would convert that business functionality or the defined manual tests into automated tests. But where Selenium and other open source and legacy frameworks fail is that 80% of the time that the testers or test automation engineers spend is in maintaining the test cases and only about 10% of the time in authoring new test cases. So this was a problem statement when we started to address, and we released the product in the market in 2020. Since then, in the last 4 years, we've grown to more than 160 customers. We've worked with some of the biggest names in the industry, whether it's like IBM, DXC Technologies, Deadless, FNZ, PwC, and Marsh McLennan. What Virtuoso is an AI-powered end-to-end functional testing platform, which is designed primarily for web applications and APIs. And it's designed specifically to speed up testing 10x. And that essentially provides you cost savings and an accelerated path to business success. Now, what we do is primarily UI and UX, functional integration testing. It also includes visual compatibility. We do facilitate accessibility and security scanning, but we're not an accessibility and security testing tool. It's facilitated through open source solutions like OSZap and Axe plugin. But where do we fare best is essentially where you have the use cases, enterprise systems, where you need to test end-to-end business processes, which may span across multiple applications. And it doesn't matter what type of application it is. It could be an S/4HANA, Workday, ServiceNow, Dynamics 365, but anything that loads on the web. And you have complex business processes which navigate through multiple applications and different teams to achieve the overall business objective. That's increasingly relevant use case for us with our enterprise customers. And also where you're doing large scale digital transformation and modernization, which essentially means those systems need to be tested pretty quickly. That's where we excel as well. And the business drivers would be where your time to value is critical. We do claim, and our customers back us on that, is that we are the quickest route to ROI when it comes to test automation projects. And that essentially means that you can move to a quality first strategy pretty quickly. Now, moving on to how do we help you achieve that? So 3 things from a feature perspective, and that's essentially number 1, live authoring, where you would be able to write your test cases and immediately see how that test case is executing against the application. All the test cases are written in NLP syntax. And when you're using natural language programming, essentially it allows anybody to start using your test automation platforms, whether it's a functional functional tester or an SDET, who can improve their productivity multifolds by starting to use Virtuoso. Now, all of these tests are human readable format. They can handle dynamic data and really complex scenarios, including UI and API testing. And also, even if the technologies are really complex, like iframes and shadow DOMs, which traditional tools struggle with. Now, all of this is topped up by the self-healing AI and machine learning driven self-healing feature, which essentially it just reduces the overall manual intervention that you would need to maintain the test cases. It takes the burden out of your hand and uses machine learning to reduce the maintenance effort, which essentially allows more time for your development and testing teams to focus on increasing the coverage and improving the overall quality of your applications and reducing the risk in your programs as well. Now, What that means to the GSIs and partners as well is, number one, everyone automates. So it significantly reduces your resource costs. You don't need really, really expensive estates to do that. You can create a team which includes manual testers, product owners, even developers who can start automating without much overhead. You can start automating very early in the project lifecycle because of the speed at which you can create tests and maintain tests. And that essentially means that you would be able to achieve a higher amount of coverage very early in the project lifecycle, and there's less backlog for you to keep keep delivering in the later stages of the project. And that essentially also leads to the fact that you can transition to leaner teams. And traditionally, what we have seen in very large engagements, especially when you're talking about insurance, healthcare, banking, and other domains, which are telecom as well, which are very much functional domains needing experts. There is traditionally a manual testing team which defines what are the scenarios to be tested and what are the data to be tested. And those scenarios, once described in a manual test, then are handed over to an automation team, which would then start converting those defined tests into an automated function. And this is completely being replaced by a leaner team, which essentially means that there's a single team and lesser overhead, leading to a lower cost, which essentially allows you to function in a much more faster way. So what are the Virtuoso capabilities? Just to give you an overview of what are those capabilities which are allowing us to do that reduction in time to create tests, maintain tests, and also delivering software faster. Number one is the AI augment object identification, and I'll walk through that in the demo as well. Essentially, if you're just saying that I want to click on the select button, if you just say I want to click on the select button, that's all it needs. And the intelligence within the tool automatically helps the tool to identify that button on the screen and continue your test. And that's just pretty much the speed of what you can write in a manual test, which would allow you to create an automated test as well. There are things like generative AI assistant for extensions creation. So yes, you would need to do custom NLP syntax, and that can be created with an AI assistant. Self-healing, which I've described earlier, which is primarily to make sure that all the changes in your selectors can be automatically be identified by using machine learning by the Virtuoso tool, and it helps you fix those changes in the runtime so that you don't have any manual intervention to fix those issues. Similarly, test data generation, it's absolutely critical in most of the test automation projects that you have got to get your test data strategy correct. And if you are even now just taking a dump out of your production to feed your test environments, it's going to cause more and more problems, as security and compliance is of very high importance to all customers. So they do expect you to generate synthetic data, or at least remove and obfuscate PII data before you load it into your test environments. And that's something that can be achieved through AI assistant for test data generation. Similarly, generating the summary of your journeys, especially if you are looking at large teams to maintain it, cross-functional teams to maintain it, you want to make sure that there is a clear summary of what is being coded or what has been written out as a end-to-end journey for testing. Similarly, root cause analysis and AI authoring, which I've covered. Now, quickly, I want to jump on to what we are working towards. So from a roadmap perspective, in 2021, end of 21, we came up with live authoring, which is primarily low code automation to make sure that you can write NLP syntax and you would be able to see how that interacts on the screen immediately. In 23 and 24, we have now got to a point, and I'll be demoing that shortly, how you can use AI to generate the test steps rather than writing those test steps on your own. We are also now getting to a point where we would be releasing certain features in the market in the coming quarters, which is essentially co-authoring, where you can describe exactly what you need to test, and or you can just feed in your manual tests and it automatically converts those into a test automation journey. And then we want to work towards an autonomous test automation platform, which would be making sure that once we cover off the intent-driven authoring, this is where the application and the AI will become much more intelligent, which we anticipate to happen very quickly in the coming years, where it can understand the business aspect itself and help you perfect the overall test automation journeys that you're creating with the help of AI as well. And that is where we are working towards, so that that's quite a challenging task. But the way we are evolving, we do feel that it's coming to reality pretty soon than what we are anticipating. With that, I'm just going to touch upon a few success stories. So talked about large insurance and financial services companies. So there's a UK-based specialty insurance marketplace. They're able to improve their sprint velocity by 25% and 80% improvement in their test productivity across the complete life cycle, because they're using it from the in-sprint phases all the way to UAT. And that essentially means that there's considerable reuse of assets between the different teams, and they're able to automate much earlier in the life cycle, right from in sprint all the way to user acceptance testing as well, which essentially means that users are able to provide feedback to the developers pretty quickly, and they are able to then use that to reduce the time to market and improve the sprint velocity. Another one which I want to touch upon is a large insurer, which has, within just 3 months, they've migrated close to 5,000 test cases from Selenium to Virtuoso. And they're able to see 42% cost savings achieved within the 3 months, because it's able to reduce the amount of time it takes for them to write test cases, to maintain test packs, and also the amount of time it takes for them to execute test cases, which is leading to 42% cost savings from their previous framework, which was using Selenium, right? With that, let me just jump right over to demo. And feel free to post your questions in case you have any questions, and I'm more than happy to answer those questions as we go forward. All right, so let me share my screen where we'll talk about how Virtuoso is able to bring the cost savings and use the AI to reduce the time to market. So let's just take a quick demo of how we write test cases. This is a quick example of a insurance-based application, a demo application, which I'm going to use and showcase how quickly test cases can be written, which would allow the testers to reduce the time it takes to write the test cases, and also how it would be reducing the maintenance effort. So there is this application which you just need to provide your URL, and then it gets started. You can see the application load on the screen on the right-hand side. And then it's as easy as just typing in, let's say, you want to create a checkpoint to validate the login aspect. So I can see a username and password on the screen on the right-hand side. So if I have to write into these fields, it's as simple as write the username in username. And I've used the dollar because I've already stored the username and password in my environment. And if I just type this out and save this, it immediately, using the intelligent object identification, identifies the field on the right hand side on the screen itself, and it would be writing into that field. So you can see you get an instant feedback and how the test is written, whether the test step is working properly or not. Now, if I had to write it again on the password field, I just say write password in password, and it automatically understands the password field, writes into it, and just completes that action. Now, if I've done the username and password, I want to make sure that I can click on the login button. You can either just say click login, or if you want to be specific, click on button login, and it automatically identifies the button, clicks onto it. Now, if your screen is loading correctly, you can even validate that by saying, hey, wait for, say, policy portal, which will only come up once your home screen is loaded, and that would be an assertion for you to confirm that your end-to-end test scenario is working properly or not. And this is a dynamic wait. It will wait up to 20 seconds, and that can be adjusted to make sure that if you have lower environments and you need more longer time, but typically 20 seconds should be good enough for any lower environment. Now, if I have to do some test automation, so let's just try and understand how AI can be used to create test automation steps as well, because right now I'm writing these test steps because I understand it. And I've got a clear view of how it can be done. But let's say I need to create test steps using AI. If I have to do that, the first thing I've done is I've got an AI authoring option over here. As soon as I click on the new customer button, it opens up the form which I need to fill in. Now, either I can write those test steps on my own, but easier would be if I let AI do that. So I select AI authoring, I select the form, and I provide it a hint to describe what you want to do, right? I'll just say, hey, select default values and fill the form. So I'm just having a conversation with the AI to generate the test steps based on what action I want to achieve on the portion of the screen that I've selected. I click on generate. It will scan the form, and then it would look at the input that I provided from a prompt perspective. And there you go. It has automatically generated, including the data that you want to fill in. And these you can either regenerate if you are not confident that it has given the right output. You can play around with it. You can delete the test steps which are not required. And then you can just say add to journey, and that automatically adds those test steps which are created by AI. And you can see that it has already started to execute them and making sure that end-to-end test steps are generated with the help of AI and also executed, get an instant feedback of what's working, what's not working as well, right? Now, this, when we are doing this, it also essentially helps you get the fixes done. So if you can see over here, it's not working correctly, you can do a fix step, just select the right element over here. Maybe it's not identify the right element properly. And then you can see that it fixes that immediately. And it has completed the end-to-end process using AI-based test authoring. And that's pretty cool because it just saves, imagine large forms on your screen. It just saves that amount of time. And all of these that you have generated become reusable checkpoints that you can use in other journeys as well. So if I've got a login steps, which I've already written, it's something that I can just attach here because it's already done. I can add an attachment from filling the form. So the one that I created in the previous journey, that can be attached as well. And that allows you to use and reuse whatever you have created in one journey so that those reusable artifacts can be used in your other journeys as well when you're creating flows which might be different from the first one that you were testing. Now, what it's also doing when you are completing these steps is essentially it is capturing a lot of information from a backend perspective as well. So what it's doing is it's capturing your XPath IDs, the CSS selectors, and all of that information automatically without any manual intervention. And that is being used for self-healing, which is where, again, the AI and machine learning algorithms come in. So if any of these selectors which you have selected, and this is the most time-consuming work for any test automation project, where testers, they just spend hours and hours of time in identifying what elements have changed. And if the changes have happened, they go manually and update those selectors. And that is something which can be simply fixed because the self-healing engine using machine learning and artificial intelligence, it basically identifies the IDs which are broken. It then predicts the element on the screen with all the information it has captured in the previous step. in the previous execution, and it then fixes that and continues to run that journey. And all of that happens at runtime, so there's no manual intervention required. And this is where the power of AI can reduce the amount of time it takes for you to maintain your regression packs. And as I was describing earlier, how you can reduce the overall time it takes for you to create your test automation journeys as well, right? Now, all of this can be combined with a lot of other AI features, which I was talking about. So there's essentially root cause analysis. So if you are looking at any of the jobs which have failed, you don't have to essentially do a lot of work in identifying what has failed and why it has failed, because the to and fro between the developers and testers, it's quite time consuming as well, because every time you say that something has failed, the developer would be like, hey, it works on my machine and my environment, so I don't know what's happening in your environment. And that to and fro can be reduced because you've got all the screenshots which are captured and the logs which are captured as well at the point of failure. So your developers can take a look at it, look at the console logs. But better still, we can ask AI to analyze the failure, look at all the logs, and give us a succinct summary of why this journey has failed, which can be used by your developers. And you can also give a feedback to this, to whether it was helpful or not. But you can feed this to your developers, and they would be able to understand exactly what has gone wrong with this, and it would help them fix that. And all of this can also be integrated with your defect management systems like Jira. So you can immediately, whatever has gone wrong, you can create a ticket once you've validated it and made sure that it's not a environment or um, a normal noise kind of an issue. But if you are convinced that this is a defect that you need to raise, it's just a uh, one click event that would help you create that defect in your defect management system as well. And similarly, the developers would have access to that link, which would also have the AI generated journey failure explanation, which would help them fix that defect very quickly. All of that is also combined with a lot of other features like, hey, if you are running these executions and you want to understand what is the problem with these executions, you can use AI to generate an execution summary as well, which it would analyze all the executions which have happened for that journey and give you a report in terms of, hey, in the previous executions, the pass rate is X percentage, the failure rate is Y percentage, and just a summary which would help you understand if there are certain failures which are happening on a regular basis, why is that happening, and what's the pattern within that. And all of that is basically a summary generated with the AI as well, right? With that, I think I've covered most of the aspect from the AI related features, the root cause analysis, how it would help you create the test cases, how it would help you maintain the test cases faster. And just one more thing before I forget, also how you can use test data and use AI to generate test data tables. So for example, if you need to create a table with 10 rows of US based locale, US-based names and phone numbers. And you can describe much other set of fields as well, but it just uses AI to generate the test data table, which you can just use directly with your test automation journeys. And that would allow you to basically combine the journeys that you've written with your test data, and that the same journey can then be used for multiple customer or product data, and that just allows you to iterate the journey on different test data combinations as well. Okay. With that, I think we are coming to the end of the demo. I just want to make sure that if there are any questions that I can cover those off and answer those questions. More than happy to take any further doubts that you may have. So guys, if you have questions, please do mention that in the chat window. I'll be able to look at the questions and then answer them.
Vinay, I think one of the questions was, uh, where do we see Virtuoso in comparison to our, competing, or who do Virtuoso consider as their key competitors, right?
Okay. So if you were to look at the landscape of customers that we are coming across and the prospects that we talk to on a daily basis, you could look at two category of customers, and thanks for asking that question. So essentially two category of customers. One would be the set of customers who are still testing software on a manual basis. They may have tried certain test automation tools but not been very successful, so they come to us fresh from manual testing and that they get started using Virtuoso. The other set of customers, and that's it's really interesting, but that's the majority of the customers who come in are essentially from open source frameworks. So the customers who are using Selenium, Cypress, and other open source based solutions to create and maintain their test automation journeys. And here we see a huge impact in terms of the capex that they need, the opex from a maintenance perspective that is significantly reduced. So that would be the other chunk of customers. But from a competition perspective, there are other SaaS-based solutions available in the market, but where we differentiate ourselves from other solutions in the market, number one would be live authoring, where instant feedback, that's a feature that we have pioneered in the industry. It's one of the first, it's the only company which provides that from the way you can write the test cases in an NLP-based syntax, and you can immediately see how it interacts with the application while you're writing those. And that's a big differentiator from other SaaS and open source solutions which are available in the market. The other differentiator is all the ecosystem of AI features, including self-healing, which essentially is bringing the power of generative AI, predictive AI, and assistive AI in reducing the amount of time it takes and improving the productivity of testers and writing, maintaining, reporting, and also executing tests. And that is a significant differentiator compared to other. So in a short summary, it would be the quickest way to ROI on test automation projects. And that's how we differentiate ourselves in the market.
Thank you. I say another question. It says that is there any, ROI documentation, or is there any ROI calculator that they can refer to before reaching out to the Virtuoso Skills team?
Absolutely. So that's again a good question. So thank you for asking that. So we do have a ROI calculator, which we have designed on our website. Let me just share my screen so that I can take you through that. So this is the ROI calculator, which you can find on our website, virtuosoqa.com. And if you just go to the qa.com website, there is a ROI calculator link on the top of the screen itself. So if you click on the ROI calculator, it essentially asks a few set of questions in terms of, hey, how many tests do you run in each cycle? So let's just say 1,000 tests. What is the average length of these test steps? So say 100 test steps per test. The average salary of the testers, depending on what regions you operate and what is the blended cost of your resources if you're using GSI driven solutions across multiple geographies, and then the number of test runs that you would do in a month, right? And whether you're currently testing all of that in an automated fashion with existing tools or legacy tools, as well as whether you're still doing it in a manual way. Once you input all of these metrics, you would be able to see what would be the typical savings with Virtuoso over either a manual or an automated solution that you have. How much faster would it be with executing, reporting, and maintaining tests? And what would be the cost savings, both in dollar value and percentage terms, which you would be able to achieve? And it's just a high level overview. But when we work with you as a prospect, we would work with you to understand a bit more details and give you a comprehensive ROI assessment. And then that could be an year on year as well to help you understand over a 3 year or a 5 year period, though we do get most of our customers get ROI within 3 to 6 months period. But over a 3 year to 5 year period and duration, what does the saving look like with Virtuoso and without Virtuoso or with other solutions? Thank you for asking that question. That's a good question as well. Okay. So
We did get a recommendation from the folks here. They would prefer to have the session at 6 p.m. So possibly, we'll have to update it. And regarding the upcoming topics, the poll is still open. So guys, feel free to go ahead and submit your suggestions for the next topic. And also, in case if you would want to suggest some other timeline, I'm relaunching the poll. So feel free. We have a couple of minutes.
yeah. And while we're doing that, I just want to make sure that we can do a quick call to action as well in terms of how do we go forward from here. So in case you're looking for further help with your test automation space and you want us to help with that, please feel free to send out an email to hello@virtuoso.qa. You can reach out to our domain, which is virtuosoqa.qa and virtuosoqa.com, where you can look for more information about in Virtuoso case studies and documentation. Also, the guide is available at this link, which is guide. And you can just go to Virtuoso QA. You would be able to see a lot of information over here, including the guides, which would help you understand more about the solution itself. And there are plenty of resources available, including webinars and other topics which you can look at. And our video library as well on YouTube. So we have a YouTube channel, which we post a lot of videos like about all the topics on how Virtuoso is used to do a certain aspect, whether it's test data management, API testing, UI testing, and so on and so forth, right? Also, feel free to reach out to me. Vinay Joseph, I'm the director for Global Alliances. My email ID and mobile number is on the contact details, and also Deepa. Deepa is a business development manager for Global Alliances, and you can see her email ID as well over here, right? So that's pretty much what I wanted to cover. Thank you all for joining today. I'll look forward to the other sessions and hope we can get, do ask your peers and your friends to join for the next webinar event as well. We would be releasing the details of that for the next month pretty soon. And hopefully we'll see more of you in the coming sessions. Sean,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Nope. I'm good, Vinay. Thank you. And thanks for all those that have joined. Really appreciate the effort, the interest, and look forward to having the next session. So thanks to all.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you, everyone. With this, we'll be ending the session. Thank you.